tell you, we'll get into China in a little bit, but I'll tell you that the Chinese are enjoying every last minute of this, no matter what you hear over here. Welcome to the Risk Reward Show. Today it's about markets, tariffs, rocket girls, and unannounced Chinese bans that we have an exclusive scoop on. So you better stick around. We also got more.
You're sure you want me to talk? That's very nice of you, Mr. Summer. Hello.
I'm never sure about that.
What are you sure about?
Can anybody be sure of really anything anymore in the world today? I'm sure about the fact that I can't be sure about anything anymore.
It's pretty acceptable to me. I'll accept that. At least I know that when I'm waking up, I shouldn't be surprised by anything I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
First off, because I'm not sure it's true what I'm reading. Second off, because some of the stuff is so wild that I just sit back and I question reality, a little like we spoke about last week. Speaking of which, let's start off this show with something I saw come out of your favorite president's mouth last week.
Teddy Roosevelt? He's alive?
You know, it's, again, the alternate reality. President Trump suggested that instead of a personal income tax in the United States, it could potentially be replaced by the money being raised by tariffs. Now, God bless America, but the math just would not work out, okay? No. And I was thinking about this, and it just brings everything, again, I'm here for the entertainment, for the risk analysis, and for the occasional good decision, okay? Having said that, when I heard this, I'm thinking to myself, we are really getting way ahead of the wagon with the horses here. They're no longer tethered together sometimes. And it really occurs to me that one of the problems when you have a populist president and a populist party in charge, and I'm speaking about Democrats and Republicans, okay, that the circus gets so crazy that they forget to serve bread, okay? Going back to the Roman quote, bread and circuses. This is how you keep people happy. Claiming that the tariff money received would eliminate income tax not only doesn't make sense quantitatively, but it sets up the notion that you're just going to have these tariffs long-term, that they're actually not looking for a solution, they're just looking for a way to raise money. Because supposedly the Republicans and centrist, and maybe even some Democrats, are free market capitalists a lot of the time. Still,
that's our system.
To this day.
Yeah, that's what our system is built upon.
Any thoughts about this and the tariff news this week that has developed in the news?
Well, yeah, I mean, as we know, going back to our earliest episodes, I was, before the election, I was anti-tariff because the claims that he was making about it were ridiculous, including this one, that you could raise tariffs and eliminate taxes, prices will go down on day one. He made all sorts of crazy claims that were counterintuitive to how tariffs even work, and forget about the fact that that was one of the precipitating incidents that created the Great Depression. After the Wall Street crash, they thought the same thing.
Talking about the Hawley Act.
Yeah, well, the Smoot, what is it? The Hawley-Smoot Act, whatever it is, yeah. And that just exacerbated everything, and it sunk us into the Great Depression, among other factors, but like the farm depression that came a few years before all that. So I think there were just enough voters that sort of thought, well, he's not really going to do that. He's going to surround himself with smart people. He knows math. He's a businessman. How bad could it be? Maybe he'll raise some tariffs. It's just going to be a negotiating tactic and all this stuff. But here we are. He's doubling down. And look what's happening to the bond market. Look what's happening to futures. Look what's happening. Everything. It's almost now as if he wants the chaos.
Market.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as if he's just like relishing this chaos, and I don't know if he just is getting a kick out of it, as some people say. I think that's less likely. I think it's more so that he has some kind of ploy to make. Either it's a business related deal because he thinks he's such an artist with deals, or something. But I'll tell you, we'll get into China in a little bit, but I'll tell you that the Chinese are enjoying every last minute of this, no matter what you hear over here. And I know because I'm in contact with them on a daily
I still
basis.
think I still think that China is behind the eight ball in many ways, and they
Mm-mm.
really don't have too many ways to get out of this mess themselves easily. I'm not saying that it isn't a level playing field, but I'm saying that the implications for China are not good with any of this tariff imbroglio if things keep getting worse. I think, from what I've heard, there are talks going on.
There
Now,
are.
let's back up and get away from the tariff thing a little bit, but staying on the subject about biting off more than you can chew for a second here. This weekend, Easter weekend, we have the Iranians and the U.S. supposedly meeting in Rome to discuss a nuclear deal, potentially. You also have the Ukraine Russian talks still going on. Putin has just announced that he's going to have a Easter ceasefire, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you have the State Department led by Rubio coming out and saying that they are ready to walk away if no progress is made. And then late or early today, depending on where you are in the globe, Trump came out and said, I think we're going to get a deal done soon. It's going to be done. But then he added a caveat and said, but if we don't, Rubio is right to say he wants to walk away. And then Trump said, from these horrible people. Now, he meant
He
he
did. I
meant it
didn't.
in yes,
I
yes.
didn't
He
see
now
that. Oh,
he didn't
shit.
say it specifically about one side, but he said if we don't reach an agreement, he said it's going to because these people are horrible. I'm not saying if they were Ukrainian or the Russians, but he did say it. I saw it come out of his mouth. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it leads me to the point where when I'm starting to really worry about, and maybe I should have been worried about it a long time ago. I apologize to you, Mr. Summer. I think that they want to get everything done so damn fast that there's just no realism here.
Mm-hmm.
Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't get to the end of peace treaties in one day. You don't negotiate with 70 nations to come up with a tariff agreement
Mm-hmm.
in one day. It takes months. And because of that, you have mass nervousness, as you said, in treasuries, in equity
Mm-hmm.
indexes, even in commodities. Although crude oil has come back and it's back at $64 a barrel right now for the WTI, which is a sign to me the behavioral sentiment is leaning into an optimistic outcome. But because it's a long holiday weekend, I wonder if they're getting ahead of themselves now. And someone yesterday came out and said they were talking about the markets in India. They were saying we should be ready for all surprises with the tariffs. We shouldn't take anything for granted until something is signed because this is a big poker game being played. You know,
What do you mean
and
by the India element of that?
because India also faces some tariff concerns regarding the White House, and they've had to make some negotiations
Yeah.
and amend some of their policies to get a better relationship or the perception that a better relationship is going to take place via trade
Yeah. I've
agreements.
heard they've reached out and offered an olive branch on a few specific
They have.
tariffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have.
So they're negotiating.
I just am flabbergasted the prospect that this is being done not only for my entertainment, but because people in the White House think it is entertaining too sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
they like having the upper hand. And as a centrist, I don't give a damn about Republicans or Democrats. I just want the right decisions to be made for the
Yep.
United States, for the people, for the nation. But I tend to think of things, I admit, in a globalist perspective because I'm living outside the States.
Sure.
And have been for a number of years.
Yeah. I totally agree with you 100% as a centrist myself. It's just, we need common sense to sort of come back and rule the day again. And I don't care which party brings it. Somebody needs to be the grown up in the room.
I was hoping that that would be the goal, that we would be bringing the adults back in the room. Sometimes I still think that that's possible. I do. It's going to be interesting. May the 3rd, Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting is going to take place. And talking about bringing the adult back in the room, Warren Buffett is going to be listened to intently in 2 weeks' time, because he is the one person that will not care what he says. He is strong enough and respected enough to speak truth to power. I'm wondering what you think is going to come out of Mr. Buffett's mouth.
I'm very curious about it as well. We always circle the date when Berkshire Hathaway has its, any of its conglomerates, its yearly gathering. I have family members who've gone back for it to Omaha, Nebraska, in person, and it's all. I mean, he's called the Oracle for a reason. He's usually right. So do know that this is a guy whose worldview is he's a registered Democrat. I don't know if you know that, but like you, he's business first, and smart choices first, and just smart investing first, and how that how events on the world stage can affect all that. I thought it was interesting that he sold a lot of stock and he parked a lot of cash months ago. As if he that's what I'm looking forward to hearing about. Why, if he could give us any kind of tea on why he hoarded all that cash, what he's going to be using it for, if there's more specifics. There's been a lot of speculation, and he sort of hinted here and there, but there hasn't been a whole lot of specifics, so I'll be curious about that. And his overall opinion, and how diplomatic he's going to be about expressing it.
He's gone on the record saying that he doesn't see that he hadn't seen a lot of value out there to buy additional equity right now, or in the past few months. It's obviously going to be interesting, as you just said, what he has to say about tariffs. And his viewpoint could shift behavioral sentiment regarding outlook. Certainly over the midterm, it doesn't mean that the so-called Oracle of Omaha is going to be 100% correct. Some people will say, come on, he's in his 90s now. We don't need to listen to everything he says. He's not exactly on the ground with the cutting edge technology of the day. Having said that, back to your point, and I do like the man. I respect him. His decisions have been superlative since the 1950s, basically. I think his father was in politics, by the way, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I can't remember where. I guess he was some kind of Nebraska politician or something. But I did read that at some point, yeah. And then the other thing, to your point, is, of course, Charlie Munger's now no longer with us. He passed away a couple of years ago. So, they've been, slowly, steadily sort of passing the baton on to the next generation to run the company. So it'll be interesting also to see how much of that generation gets the microphone on the 3rd and speaks, their mind. As we'll be able to see if he's sort of handed the reins over completely, or if it's just a little bit of 50-50.
Valid point. And I suspect we'll see that he's done some of that. He's been planning for his demise, the eventual succession, for a long time. He seems to be a very realistic person.